first, nearly 2 weeks after Clay Aiken was declared winner of his primary race in North Carolina after his opponent died, he is taking a moment to join me live to react to this and his next opponent, a Republican incumbent who is heavily favored to win. We will discuss Mr. Clay Aiken coming up next. Just past bottom of the hour, you are watching CNN. I'm Brooke Baldwin, and a lot of talk today about the primary elections. Those Tea Party Republicans, they got spanked, shellacked by Mitch McConnell and his GOP establishment. So let's move on, shall we? Let's talk about November, and in particular, a marquee race for Congress.
I know that time goes by.
Ooh, that voice singer Clay Aiken of American Idol fame has shocked the political world, first by tossing his hat in the ring and then by winning his primary race. So Clay Aiken will be on the ballot in November against two-term incumbent Renee Elmers, a hard-charging Republican. And as I said, a lot of folks talking about Clay Aiken. So we've got Clay Aiken. Clay Aiken joining me live from Raleigh, North Carolina. Welcome back to the show, Mr. Aiken.
Thank you for having us.
So we'll talk about your race straight away, but first I have to ask you here about the news coming out of Washington today. You have, as you are well aware, American war veterans dying awaiting treatment at VA hospitals. I know you say, we've talked about this, you're pro-military, we've talked about your brother who served in Iraq. Are you angry about this, these deadly delays facing war veterans?
I think people should all be very frustrated with the disorganization, to put it lightly, of the VA. You know, the VA is a unwieldy organization, and I think that that some of the mismanagement that it's had over the past several years has started showing itself. Obviously, we see what's happened in Phoenix, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that some of these issues were popping up in other places in the country. The VA is unwieldy. It's very mismanaged, and I think we got to do better for veterans. I mean, you're right. My brother is a vet, and there are many veterans in this district. This is a very military-heavy district, and a lot of people who've served our country, and we are not serving them well enough at all, and we certainly aren't serving them.
Whose fault do you think it is? Do you think that the president needs to be more hands-on?
I think that there needs to be more supervision. We certainly need to make sure that that we're digging into and investigating some of the stuff that we've seen in Arizona. I certainly think the president is responsible for it at the end of the day. I mean, he is the commander-in-chief of the military. He is the executive, and so the buck has to stop with him. I know he has spoken up today and said that he was going to be looking into it and digging into it quite a bit, along with the Secretary of the Veterans Affairs. And I think they need to dig down. At the end of the day, we're spending a lot of money on the VA, and it's not being used responsibly. And we all need to be paying attention to that. That Congress needs to be paying closer attention to it, and the executive branch does as well.
And we'll continue to hold them accountable as well here at CNN. So I just wanted to ask you about that here as news of the day. But let's talk about you. You won your first election, the primary held May 6th. But what a shock. Your opponent, Keith Christo, he died. He died on a fall in his home hours before he apparently had planned to concede. Where did you get the word? What were your first thoughts?
You know, it's been a very difficult week for a lot of people here in North Carolina. Keith was a lifelong public servant, and was always a gentleman to me when I saw him. And it was I was at lunch the day that he passed away and was told. And you know, I'm not often speechless, but that was one situation that left me speechless. And you know, I've certainly. It's been a very difficult week, to say the very least.
Can't imagine. Here you are, though, now. Going forward, you face Renee Elmers. She is an up-and-coming Republican. She's a tough cookie from everything I've seen. Perhaps you've seen this. Let me play this for our viewers. This is Renee Elmers, pretty tough with our own Anderson Cooper, talking about here. They're talking about religion. Take a look.
All know about religion. I'm a
yes or no?
I am a Catholic. Right. Yes, I am. No, you are wrong in your assumptions.
Wait,
I guess what I could ask you is, are you anti-religion? Are you anti-Christian in your thinking?
That's like the lowest response I've ever heard from a candidate. I got to tell you.
Really,
ma'am.
Oof. Clay Aiken, will you challenge Renee Elmers to a debate?
I would love to debate Renee Elmers. You know, I absolutely think that one of the reasons that I know that one of the reasons I jumped into this race was because I think all congressional sitting congressmen and women need to be held accountable for what they've done while they're in office. We've gerrymandered a lot of these districts around the country to a point where a lot of people feel that they don't have to answer to the people who've elected them, and that's one of the reasons that I wanted to be that I wanted to get involved and wanted to throw my hat in the ring, because I do want to hold Congresswoman Elmers accountable, and I would be happy to debate with her. And I look forward to the opportunity, and I hope she'll give it to me.
We'll look forward to it as well and see if it happens and follow up with you when it does. And here you are. I mean, you know, politics has not exactly been in your wheelhouse in your lifetime thus far. And so here you are. You're running to be a member of Congress, and I'm sure you've hired some very smart people to be around you. What do they say as to how you, a novice, can win this race against a heavily favored incumbent in a red state, in a red district?
You know, people talk about red and blue on TV a lot. But when I go around the district, people don't pay attention to the R or the D behind someone's name. They pay attention to the person. They want to be represented by someone who's going to listen to them.
Not always.
People on the ground don't always pay attention to the R or the D. They pay attention to the issues. They pay attention to the person who's going to listen to them. They vote for the person who they know they can trust to have their best interests at heart. That's not necessarily happened in this district. You know, I am not a politician by trade necessarily, but I've always been an advocate, and I've always tried to use my voice, so to speak, to speak up for people who've not had a voice through my work with children with disabilities, through my work with UNICEF. I was a special educator before I did EIDL, and I've tried to make sure that I use my voice to speak up for people who weren't being heard. And this is an extension of that. It's not about people. Things should not be about politics. They shouldn't be about party, that's for sure. That's what's frustrated me, and it's what's frustrated people all across the country. People spend too much time talking about Republican or Democrat, and they don't talk, and too much time talking about winning and losing, and the people who are losing are the people who are voting, because they're not being listened to at all.
Clay Aiken, good luck. We'll stay in touch with you, and we'll see how this goes, and we'll see if that debate happens. Clay Aiken, thank you so much for joining me live. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.